One of the things Charlie really hated worshiping in like a gym.
Empty worship, shallow worship. If you have to care about the building you're in to worship Christ, then you don't know Christ. It is that very reason that Rome builds their cathedral so high and so fantastical and so glorious is because it's part of the voodoo, hoodoo, whatever you want to call it. The magical come and be in our church. Come, let the spirit of something else bring you to us. And look at all of the stained glass windows you will be surrounded by, and all of our idols you'll be surrounded by, and our stone and granite and just everything. So proves why Jesus was never in a building. Most all of his, I mean, at the most he was in, he was in a temple a couple of times, but most of all of his teachings or sermons, whatever you want, his teachings were done in people's homes or out in the field or, in the middle of the marketplace. In the case of woeing the Pharisees. It makes sense. He was disgusted. They were selling in the temple and they were disgracing. I mean, this is the whole reason, you have to look at not just everything he said, but the way that he lived. He wasn't building any church. That's why he told Peter, it is on you, Peter, you, that I will build my church. What did Rome do? Oh, he meant Rome. That would be the last place Jesus meant. If Jesus meant a building, Rome would be the last place. Am I saying nobody in Rome can be saved? No, don't twist it around. You know what I mean. But what he was saying is that it would be in him, because where Jesus is, that's where church is. So when Jesus is in you, you're the church. And when you come together with others that have Jesus dwelling within them, then you are a community. So, that's what he was saying. Jesus didn't care about buildings and all of that. He cared about knowing you. It's this very reason why everything he said and did, like mocking the Pharisees, because they made it all about how they looked, so that everybody in the marketplace, everybody in town would see them as important and holy. And that's why he said, you look good on the outside, but inside you're a brood of vipers. Now, if he was willing to say that to the Pharisees, just look at that church in Rome. Way, way worse. This guy, and he's somebody from Turning Point who was close to Charlie. He said that Charlie Kirk wasn't gonna turn Catholic, although Candace says that he was. There's tons of pictures of him in the Catholic Church. I mean, not that that's a big deal. I mean, why Erica clearly was still a Catholic. But and what did he like about it? He liked all of what the outside looked like. That's not even something that I consider when I'm going into, never. But see, I didn't find God in a church. I've been in the beautiful churches, the Catholic churches, and I didn't find God there. I found him in a rundown room, as I've said before, filled with cigarette smoke, smelling like day-old coffee, and folding tables and chairs. That's where he was. And I saw him there over, and when I say saw, I mean, I should more say heard. I would hear him through other people, and because we gather, we would talk. I mean, steps 2, 3, and 11, my favorite steps, because they all, once I knew God existed, I'm like, oh, now I understand these steps. Now I understand these. And that 11th step, continuous conscious connection with God. All of those 12 steps were based on the Bible. So that's where I had, the burning bush moment. But it wasn't just that moment, and there was no stained glass windows. There was no altar. There was no mass. It was people that had been broken down to, losing everything, and some being brand new, scared to death, and then others that, were old timers, knew that, if you stuck with it, you would find out that, don't give up before the miracle happens, they would often say. And so you would that was God. God would come through all those people. I would see them for a long time. I used to see them as angels, like living angels. I did. The song, She Talks to Angels, it's what I always said, that song, I was like, that was when I got sober, that when I heard that song, I'm like, this will always forever be a reminder to me, God, of you, because that's what I felt like sitting in those rooms, because for a year I'd never said a word. I just had a really bad attitude. But I listened. I definitely couldn't avoid listening. And that's what it was like. It was like talking to angels. Showing you the way when you're in a big fog and you don't know where you're going. In those cases, you don't care what the building looks like. You don't care about stained glass windows and big Ave Maria statues and crucifixions. In those cases, you're so desperate, you're willing to do anything to find God.